Hey guys, Dan Hitoshi here. I wanted to take a moment to tell you about Extra Life. Extra Life is the Children's Mercy Miracle Network Hospital's fundraising program within the gaming community. Participants fundraise year-round to pledge to game for 24 hours with one goal: to save and improve the lives of sick and injured kids. Funds raised stay local to help pediatric patients at 170 Children's Miracle Network hospitals across North America. Since 2008, Extra Life has raised more than $30 million for member hospitals. The movement, formed by gamers bonded by passion, is committed to saving and improving the lives of local kids. Your donation is tax deductible and will make miracles happen for families who desperately need them. The link in the description below will take you to my Extra Life fundraising page. Once there, you can click the donate button at the top of the page to make a safe and easy online donation. I need your help to reach my goal for the kids. Thank you so much for supporting my efforts.
What up guys, it's your boy Dan Hitoshi. This is just a quick intro before we get into the main video here. We are going to be talking about all things Tahm Kench with preseason updates. We're going to be talking about runes, we're going to be talking about Tahm Kench as a top laner, as a jungler, as a support, and we're going to be talking about itemization as a top laner, as a jungler, and as a support. There's going to be timestamps in the description below to get to these various parts of the video. And the first half of the video is really going to be talking about runes for the various roles. The second half of the video is going to be talking about itemization to go with those runes for the various roles. So like I said, timestamps are going to be in the description below. If you like the video, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. Check back for more content every day. I'm going to be uploading pretty much every day once I get done with my fall semester of my grad school stuff here. But yeah, check back, drop a like, drop a subscribe. If you want to see anything else from me, drop the information in the comments below, and let's get into this video. What's up guys, this is your boy Dan Hitoshi. We are talking about the rune changes, specifically as they apply to Tahm Kench. As you guys know, with 7.22, the runes have changed. There's no longer separated runes and masteries. They are all now in a single fun little package. This is what it looks like when you go to your runes page in the League of Legends client. And you've got 5 presets, which you can basically ignore so long as you have a decent number of rune pages already purchased or however you acquired them. And if you were creating a new one, this is what it would start off with. You can click this and you get detailed information about what each one of these is, blah blah blah. Not what we're worried about right now. We're going to talk about the different rune pages we have for Tahm Kench. So, starting off, first and foremost, for Tahm Kench, this is probably the one I like the most as a Tahm Kench top lane champion. Again, the reason why, to give you some background, the way I like to play Tahm Kench as a top lane champion is as a macro champion, a counter split push champion, so to speak. So one of the big things you see and have a lot of difficulty with in lower elos is champions like Fiora, Tryndamere, Camille, Irelia, Jax, all these different champions that are supposed to be split pushing champions, the gods of split pushing. Well, this is my counter to them. You're not exactly the greatest team fighter. That's my playstyle, is that you counter them. You make sure that they don't win the game, and you can win the game through it, but more importantly, you counter what they do, and you do it better than them. So to that effect, I built this particular rune tree, we'll call it, as a what benefits my playstyle the most. And that is precision and resolve. In precision, lethal tempo is amazing on this particular style of Tahm Kench. As 1.5 seconds after damaging a champion, you gain 30 to 80% attack speed based on level for 3 seconds. Attacking a champion will extend the effect to 6 seconds. It is a 10-second cooldown. It allows you to exceed the attack speed limit. Really good, because what does Tahm Kench do? He auto-attacks. What do his auto-attacks do? Bonus magic damage based on your maximum health. So not only are you dealing physical damage, but you're also dealing magic damage, and you're dealing it faster thanks to lethal tempo. This means you stack faster, you deal more damage faster. Yeah, it's just really good on Tahm Kench because he's an auto attack based champion. Triumph. Triumph is the next one in the precision tree. Triumph takedowns restore 15% of your missing health and grant an additional 25 gold. Really good for tower diving because you tower dive, pop your E shield to resist a couple more turret shots. You get your kill, but you're about to die from that last turret shot. You get 15% of your missing health back, gives you enough health to survive that next tower shot and moonwalk out of the tower range. Cool, really good. Triumph, really good. Counts on both kills and assists. Doesn't matter whether it's a kill or assist, you get it regardless. I love Triumph, take it. It's fantastic. Especially in team fights, mid and late game, you're not necessarily going to be the one killing them. That's going to be your assassin or damage dealing mid carry or your attack damage carry in the bot lane. They're the ones going to be dealing the damage and getting all the kills, but you're going to be doing enough to get assists, and those assists are going to be giving you 15% of your missing health back. When you have 4,000 health, 15% of that is about 650 health back on a takedown. That's really, really, really strong. Next up is Legend Alacrity. Takedowns on enemies grant permanent attack speed. Gain 3% attack speed right off the bat. So initially, when you start the game, you have 18% attack speed from just having the precision tree. You have 3% attack speed from just having Legend Alacrity. So that's already 21% attack speed at the start of the game. That's more than you would have gotten with the old runes. So I started 15% attack speed with the old runes. This gives you 21% attack speed. Boom, right off the start. Really solid. And Legend Alacrity means you gain an additional 1.5% for every legend stack, max 10 stacks. So you gain an additional 15% attack speed when you hit max legend stacks. I believe you hit max legends. You get stacks for takedowns, epic monster takedowns, large monster kills, and minion kills. I believe it's 3 large monster kills, 8 minion kills, and a single champion takedown and a single epic monster takedown. So dragons, heralds, and barons all count towards epic monster takedowns. And you get a single legend stack for each champion takedown and each of these epic monster takedowns. So you can get those extra 10 stacks pretty darn quickly. Really solid, gives you just, again, more attack speed. What do we want as Tahm Kench? Attack speed, attack speed, attack speed, without sacrificing our tank. Really good. And last up is Last Stand. Again, because you are a health stacking champion, this is really good because while you are below 60% health, you deal 5% increased damage to champions. Below 30% health, you do 12% increased damage to champions. If you have 4k health, being below 60% means you're below 2,300 health. So you get an additional 5% damage for being below 2,300 health. That's insane. Because ADCs have 2,000 HP total. Burst mages in the mid lane have 2,000 HP total. So by just the fact that you have more HP than them, you still get an additional 5% damage. Really nice. Especially with all this attack speed you've got, right? Add in the below 30%, so if you're below 1,200 health, you get 12% increased damage. So you're still pretty tanky with all your resist. If you work your E shield correctly, while you're below that 1,200 health, you're even more tanky than that 1,200 health belies. And you're dealing an additional 12% damage with all of your attack speed. Really, really nice, guys. This is why I like this particular precision tree. In addition, on the resolve side of things, like I said, you immediately get that bonus 18% attack speed right off the bat at the start of the game. And there are only 2 items you would take out of the resolve tree as a secondary tree. Period. End of story. I don't care what arguments you may have for Tahm Kench taking other items out of the resolve tree besides these 2. It is Demolish, which gives you a powerful attack against towers that charges up over 4 seconds while within tower shot range of it. The charged attack deals 125 plus 30% of your max health bonus physical damage with a cooldown of 45 seconds. Basically, at 4,000 health, you deal 1200 plus 125 bonus physical damage to the tower. That's reduced by the tower's armor, of course. But that winds up being like 900 to 1,000 damage that you deal with a single tower with a single attack to a tower. It has to charge up over 4 seconds, that's true. But basically it means you are a tower destroying machine when you have full health. When you are at full build, rather. Even mid-game, when you have 2,000 health. 30% of 2,000 is 600. So you're dealing an additional 125 plus 600 resisted by the tower's armor damage to the tower. That is absurd. You're doing probably 500 to 600 extra damage on a tower shot when you attack the tower. That makes taking towers in the mid game super easy for you, especially with all of that attack speed. What have we been talking about? Talking about all the attack speeds you're getting from precision, alacrity, and items that you'll be building. And of course, adding in demolish just means when you're ready to take that tower, it's super easy. You take it like that. Now let's talk about, well, let's first things first. The other two you could have taken are Font of Life and Unflinching. Both are pretty decent, but fuck that. You want demolish because you're top lane and you're splitting, and it makes you take towers so much faster. So that's all we're doing is demolish. Next up is conditioning. I take conditioning over anything else when it's in the secondary for the resolve tree, because after 10 minutes you gain plus 8 armor, plus 8 magic resist, and you increase your armor and magic resistance by 5%. This is really solid on Tahm Kench. You don't need the early armor from Iron Skin because you just got plus 20 armor as a buff just for being a melee support champion. So now you have 47 base armor starting the game. That's one of the highest base armors in the game. You don't need the extra armor from Iron Skin. You've got it. You can buy armor if you need more armor after 5 minutes or after 10 minutes into the game. Mirror Shell. Decent into, I guess, like a Rumble or a Swain or a Vladimir. But just buy the Null Magic Mantle into that matchup anyway. Period. End of story. Discount Mirror Shell. It's garbage. Conditioning is the only one you want. After 10 minutes, you gain plus 8 armor, plus 8 magic resist, and you increase your armor and magic resist by 5%. I'm not talking about it anymore. Just know that Mirror Shell is bad and conditioning is good, and this is your resolve tree. Moving on. Save that. This is my primary tree. This is the tree that I'm probably going to use the most. However, if I'm going into... Let's talk about the other options you have. Resolve Precision. So, why would you do Resolve Precision? Resolve Precision is if you are a weeb and you want Grasp of the Undying instead of Legend Alacrity. The problem with this is you get a plus 130 health. You don't get the 21% additional attack speed right off the bat. So... there's no point in having the precision tree in the first place. Get rid of it. It's garbage. I don't like it. Other people may like it because you get an additional 3% plus 10 point, 15%, so 18% by the time you get max stacks. Woo! This is garbage. Don't use it. Don't take it. I don't like it. So... if you are not taking precision as a secondary tree, but you still want resolve, what do you have? Well, there's this fantastic inspiration tree. Inspiration gives you an additional 100. Just by having the resolve tree as your main tree, gives you 130 health for whatever other secondary tree you have, which is really nice. And once we get done talking about runes, we'll talk about why this is really cool. So, you don't want precision because, well, frankly, the 18% max stack attack speed that you would get anyways is pretty garbage, so you might as well get more use out of that secondary tree. Well, how can you abuse having Resolve as your primary tree with Grasp of the Undying, Demolish, Condition, and Overgrowth with a secondary tree? There's a couple of routes, but my preferred is Inspiration. So this one is Biscuit Delivery plus Approach Velocity, which Approach Velocity speaks for itself. You gain bonus movement speed towards nearby allied champions that are movement impaired or enemy champions that you have movement impaired. So anytime an ally near you within 1,000 units of range is movement impaired, you get movement speed towards them to save them with your Devour. Alternatively, you get the same movement speed towards an enemy champion that you have just tongue lashed. So, when you're a top laner on an island and you tongue lash your opponent, you gain 10% movement speed. Close that gap. In addition to, they're slow. And I take Biscuit Delivery because this is a sustain page. So, Grasp of the Undying heals you and gives you bonus health. And Biscuit Delivery gives you a free biscuit every 3 minutes that restores 15% of your missing health and mana, consuming any biscuit increases your mana cap by 40 mana permanently. So yeah, really good. This is great into champions like Gangplank, who wants to poke you over and over. Any ranged champion that's going to poke you, like Gnar, Kennen, Teemo. You get these biscuits that help you sustain. And speaking to that, instead of taking Overgrowth in this particular page, you want to take Second Wind. So you want to sustain into an enemy champion that pokes the hell out of you with Resolve, Grasp of the Undying for this sustain. Second Wind gives you 4% of your missing health over plus 6 over 10 seconds. That's pretty good as well. Gives you some extra sustain against the poke there. And you get the Biscuit Delivery, gain a free biscuit every 3 minutes until 12 minutes in the game. These biscuits restore health and mana. So, you get sustain from Grasp, you get sustain from Second Wind, you get sustain from Biscuit Delivery. Really cool. I love it. This is your TK Sustain, Resolve, Inspiration. So, sustain. Come on, there we go. Why did it not do you? Whatever. So this is your sustain, resolve, inspiration tree into matchups like Teemo, Kennen, anybody that wants to poke you over and over and over and just harass you. Next up, you have a second resolve inspiration tree, and this is into matchups where it's a farm lane. You're just farming over and over and over and over and over again because you can't tower dive your opponent, but your opponent can't tower dive you. So this is matchups like Garen, like I would say Darius. Basically melee matchups that go even. It's tough to tower dive the opponent unless you are super fed, super ahead, and it's tough for the opponent to tower dive you because you're Tahm Kench. So Darius, Garen, Illaoi, who else? I mean, really kind of just those three. Any other matchup that is tough to tower dive because it's whoever it is. I would say Cho'Gath could go into this particular category of champions that you can't tower dive, but they can't tower dive you because you're Tahm Kench. Any matchups that's basically just farming back and forth after about 5 minutes into the game, where if the wave is pushing to you, then you can't really go up and challenge them because they'll kill you with superior minion wave, but if your wave is pushing towards them, they can't really do anything about it because you'll kill them with the addition of your minions. Just that kind of back and forth. It's going to take forever. You can't really deal damage to the tower, and you can't poke them out enough to be able to deal damage to the tower, assuming both players are smart and don't allow themselves to get poked out. So this is your, well, this is a farm lane, so I'm just going to abuse the Grasp and the Overgrowth mechanic to get as much additional bonus maximum health as possible. So with something like this, you're not even actually trying to kill a Garen, so to speak. I mean, if you can kill him because you get the gold from it. But Grasp of the Undying. Every 4 seconds, your next attack on a champion will deal bonus magic damage equal to 4% of your max health, heal you for 2% of your max health, and permanently increase your health by 5. So, Q is slow, approach velocity to gain movement speed towards the slowed opponent, auto attack them for the Grasp of the Undying because you are now in combat, and then walk away. You heal for 2% of your max health. You deal bonus magic damage equal to 4% of your max health, and you increase your maximum health by 5. Over and over and over and over again. Unless you're getting poked out by that same champion, the only one that really can do that is Cho'Gath, in my opinion. Lowy can kind of do it. Darius can kind of do it. Garen, he can't really do it. Yeah, you just walk up, you Q them, you walk up, auto attack them for the Undying Grasp proc, and you walk away. Additionally, Overgrowth. For every 8 minions that die near you, you gain 0.2% maximum health. That means every 80 minions that die near you, you gain 1% maximum health. Is that right? 85. No, every 40 minions. Sorry, every 40 minions that die near you, you gain 1% maximum health. Every 80 minions that die near you, you gain 2% maximum health. So 10 minutes into the game, assuming you've been farming decent and you have 80 farm, you gain 2% additional maximum health. So if you have 2,000 health, that's 40 maximum health. So it's actually 2,040 maximum health. That also includes maximum health that you gain from Grasp of the Undying. So it is multiplicative in stacking this Overgrowth maximum health. Pretty cool. Really good into these, like I was saying, farm lanes where you're not really in danger of getting poked out by your opponent because they're not very good at harassing you, and you can just sit there and farm until you are ready to go. Over here on this side, approach velocity still in the inspiration page because it's just that damn good. And Minion Dematerializer. Minion Dematerializer is really cool because it helps you secure cannon minions. If you are within the range to dematerialize a cannon minion, you can dematerialize it and just automatically assure that you get it. And you start the game with 6. It goes on cooldown for the first 155 seconds of the game, so you get it basically at the start of landing phase. No, you get it like 30 seconds into landing phase. Basically when that first cannon shows up. And you use it on a cannon, caster, and melee minion to start off with. And then, from there, you use the 3 extra charges on melee minions. And I'll explain why. So you get 4% extra damage, just straight up permanently against that type of minion the first time you use a dematerializer on that minion. So you use it on a caster minion, and boom, you get 4% extra damage on caster minions from there on out. And same for melee, same for cannons. And the reason why I say use it on the melees is because with Kench's kit, you always devour you always devour cannon minions to deal the extra damage to the cannon minion, to secure the cannon minion, and to deal AoE damage to caster waves. Helps you clear waves faster, helps you clear that cannon minion faster. Where you want the extra percentage damage is to melee minions that you... Usually it takes like 2, 3, 4, even 4 auto attacks to kill those melee minions, especially in the mid game and sometimes even in the late game, depending on how much armor and health they've stacked up over time. So this extra damage helps you clear those melee minions faster while you devour the cannon minion and one-shot the backline. So it just overall helps with your wave clear to use the extra charges on the melee minions. But Minion Dematerializer is really cool. It helps you secure cannon minions in the early game. Helps you secure melee minions. You can use the extra 3 charges on either cannon or melee minions. I prefer using them on melee minions where I can, but don't be afraid to use them on cannon minions if you need to secure them in the early game. Because securing cannon minions is 50 gold. Do it, use it, period, done, done deal. Alright, so that is Resolve Inspiration number 2. Pretty cool. There's other combinations that you can do. A lot of you may have seen Solo Renekton only do a phase rush Tahm Kench. I don't like it. I think it's cheesy. You can pull this off maybe 3 times in a game, and that's just not enough for a Keystone Mastery. Period. End of story. I don't like it. What this really is you apply 3 stacks to an enemy champion, and that triggers the phase rush, which has a 15-second cooldown, and it grants you 15 to 40% bonus movement speed based on your level, As a melee champion, you get 75% slow resistance. Two things. One, again, I think it's garbage because you can use it maybe 3 to 4 times in an entire game for what you're trying to cheese it with, which is the self-applied slow from Devour. But more importantly, Riot has talked about nerfing this because they don't want the self-applied slow to be countered by Phase Rush. So basically, A, I think it's garbage, and B, Riot's talking about nerfing this anyways, so don't use it, don't get accustomed to it, because it's going to go away. But basically what the rune page was Phase Rush, Nullifying Orb, Celerity, Gathering Storm, and then Resolve for the adaptive attack and ability power, increase in Demolish conditioning. That's basically what the rune page is. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I think it's garbage. Jungle Tahm Kench. So, Jungle Tahm Kench is now a thing again, in my opinion. You can go one of two routes with this. I think Glacial Augment is the only Keystone Mastery to take as Jungle Tahm Kench because Glacial Augment is really good on a ganking champion that relies on basic attacks. You use your Q to slow them initially. When you get into lane, you use approach velocity to get to them quicker, and then your first basic attack against them will slow them by an additional 40 to 50% depending on your level, which increases in strength over time for an additional 2 seconds. Allows you to stick to them like glue, apply stacks, CC them with Devour, and kill them. Really nice. Since you're in the jungle, you need additional jungle sustain against against your jungle camps. Biscuit delivery. You get a biscuit at 3 minutes, you get a biscuit at 6 minutes, 9 minutes, 12 minutes. It restores 15% of your missing health and mana and increases your mana cap permanently. Really cool. Magical footwear. You get free boots at 10 minutes, but you cannot buy boots before then. Each takedown, you acquire the boots 30 seconds sooner. Boots give an additional plus 10 movement speed and upgrade for 50 gold less. Basically what this is 10 minutes minus 30 seconds for each champion takedown that you get before the 10-minute mark. So you could get it at 9 minutes if you have 2 ganks within the first 10 minutes of the game. You could get it at 8:30 if you have 3 ganks. But basically you can get a little bit sooner if you do you get a couple of champion takedowns in there. The whole idea of this is you save 350 gold by not having to buy that first boot purchase, and you can get your final boots for 350 gold cheaper. The argument is between this and Futures Market because Minion Dematerializer on Jungle Kench makes 0 sense. You don't have minions. You have jungle creeps. You have jungle monsters. So don't worry about Minion Dematerializer. It's garbage. The only argument is between Magical Footwear and Futures Market. Problem with Futures Market is that does not become available until 2 minutes into the game. It would be really, really nice if you could use Futures Market at the very start of the game, but you can't. So you have to use it 2 minutes into the game. So the argument is whether or not you want to buy boots on your very first back to take advantage of the increased movement speed, or you're willing to wait 9-ish minutes into the game before you acquire your first boot item. 9 minutes into the game, you are probably already wanting to buy Moby boots as Tahm Kench in the jungle. That's what I always buy. Or Swifties. You could also buy Swifties, but generally speaking, it's Moby boots, not Swifties. I really love the additional movement speed you get for being out of combat from Moby boots. But yeah. So basically, do you want boots at 6 minutes into the game, or do you want boots at 9 minutes into the game? If you are willing to go without boots until 9 minutes into the game, get Magical Footwear because it saves you 350 gold that you can spend on something else. If you are not willing to wait, get Futures Market, in which case you can spend more gold earlier, but you go into debt to do so. Right now, I'm thinking it's Magical Footwear, but like I said, you can make an argument for either one. Second tree, there's a couple of different options, and I'm going to show them both to you. First option is Sorcery, where you get the Inspiration portion of it, which is plus 20% Potion and Elixir Duration. That comes from the Inspiration. And you also get plus 16 attack damage or plus 27 ability power adaptive, depending on which you have more of during the course of the game, affected by item purchases. So initially it's going to be attack damage, but it could become. It's almost always going to be attack damage for you. And then the reason why you take the sorcery tree is for mana flow band, which means every 60 seconds your next ability has its mana or energy cost refunded and restores 8% of your missing mana. Really good in Tahm Kench jungle because you use your Q a lot to help you clear camps, and you use your W a lot to help you clear camps, and those both cost a lot of mana in the early game. So this really helps with your early mana sustain. And then Celerity is the second one. Gain 4% extra movement speed and add 8% of your bonus movement speed to your AP or AD adaptive based on level. So when you get bonus movement speed, either from Boots of Mobility or Swifty Boots or whatever that bonus movement speed, you add 8% of that to your AD or AP adaptive based on level. So it's going to give you extra AD, because that's how I always build my Tahm Kench jungle. But really, this is all about the 4% increased movement speed. Movement speed is king. I've always said this, and movement speed on Tahm Kench is even more of a king. That's why we had movement speed runes in the old system, or movement speed quints rather. And this is my version of making up for that in a jungle style of Tahm Kench. Next up is jungle inspiration precision. So the reason this works is because you get the plus 20% potion and elixir duration from the inspiration, but you also get the plus 20% attack speed. So if you were running Resolve, you would just get 130 bonus health, period. You wouldn't get additional attack speed for running precision as a secondary tree. But since you're running inspiration as your primary tree, you get the inspiration portion of it, and you also get the attack speed portion of it. So you get that plus 20% attack speed right off the bat, and you also get that plus 3% attack speed right off the bat. So you start the game with 23% attack speed. And then, of course, the jungle item, Machete, also gives you an additional plus 15% attack speed on hit when you start attacking creeps. So that's 35% attack speed, or something like 38% attack speed that you start the game with when you buy that machete, the jungle machete. Yeah, really good. So inspiration tree, like I said, it's the same. Glacial Augment, Biscuit Delivery, Magical Footwear, Approach Velocity, all really good. And in the Precision Tree, Triumph, takedowns restore 15% of missing health and grant an additional 25 gold. There's no other one here that I think would be useful besides Triumph. Overheal, meh. Presence of Mind for 5 seconds after getting a level or a takedown. Any mana you spend is fully restored. That doesn't matter because Tahm Kench is not a super mana hungry champion in terms of burst. Tenacity, meh. I'd rather have the attack speed. Bloodline, gain 0.8% lifesteal for every legend stack. That's 8% after 10 stacks. Don't care, that's garbage. Coup de grace, no. Cut down, no. Because you have more max health than everybody else. Coup de grace, no, because you already have an execute in your W. Last stand, 5 to 12%. I mean, that's good if you're taking the precision tree as a whole, but you want the legend alacrity. You want that additional attack speed off of champion takedowns, epic monster takedowns, large monster kills, and minion kills. So there it is. There's the inspiration precision tree. Pretty cool. I like it. This one is probably my go-to. I don't think the mana issue is enough to warrant the sorcery as a secondary tree, and I really like the attack speed on jungle Tahm Kench. It's really necessary to help clear jungle camps faster, and just get you around the map faster. You're going to get Boots of Mobility anyway, so you don't really need the celerity in my opinion. So just inspiration precision. You get the attack speed, you get the glacial augment for your ganks. Really solid. Go with this tree if you are going to be jungling with Tahm Kench in my opinion. Now, having said that, you could also go this route. It's not as good, but it's basically the reverse of inspiration precision. You go with precision first and then inspiration, but you don't get the glacial augment, which in my opinion is not as good. You do get the lethal tempo, which helps you, but it does not help the person you are ganking as much, or the person you are ganking for as much. So what I would say is don't actually go with this. Go with, if you want to do something other than inspiration precision and Then I would go Glacial Augment, Biscuit Delivery, Boots, Approach Velocity, and we would go Dissolve, because you get the plus 145 health, 20% potion duration, potion and elixir duration. And then here you would go with so we already talked about the sorcery one, where you would go with the Mana Flow Band and Celerity. That one's pretty good. You could go with Domination, where you get damaging champions with impaired movement or actions, deals 12 to 30 bonus true damage. Activates on damage occurring after the impairment. Cheap Shot really good, so you Q them to slow them. Your Glacial Augment slows them, and you also deal 12 to 30 bonus true damage with your first basic attack. And then your second one, since you always take the green smite, you get the health and you get the warding jungle item. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but since you get that one, you go with Zombie Ward, or you could go with gain 10% active item CDR plus an additional 6% per bounty hunter stacks. Earn a bounty hunter stack the first time you get a takedown on each enemy champion, so you could get up to 30%, 6% times 5. You could get up to additional 30% active item CDR on your active items, plus the 10% you gain additionally, so you could get up to 40% additional active item CDR. Really cool, because you can take items like Locket of the Iron Solari, you can take Mikhails, you can take Righteous Glory, you can take Zz'Rot Portal, you can take Ruby Sightstone if you really wanted to, but all these items have active cooldowns. Or no, Ruby Sightstone doesn't have an active cooldown, but it also adds additional percentage CDR to your active item uses. So, you know, Zz'Rot Portal, Righteous Glory, Randuin's Omen has an active, Titanic Hydra has an active, Mikhails has an active, Locket of the Iron Solari has an active, Knight's Vow has an active item ability. All these items, if you took Ingenious Hunter, you would be able to reduce that active item CDR. Pretty cool. Relentless Hunter, gain 8 out of combat movement speed plus 8 per bounty hunter stack. That's kind of cool because, again, it allows you to move around the map faster. However, you are not a splitting style champion when you're playing Tahm Kench in the jungle. The way I play Tahm Kench in the jungle is basically a secondary support. So I guess it's kind of cool because the reason why I would play Tahm Kench jungle support is because you have a squishy support champion like a Lulu or a Zyra or a Brand or someone that really can't face check bushes, and you need to get vision out on the map. So instead of them going to get vision out on the map and face checking bushes, you are a tanky support jungler, and you can go get that vision. And the Relentless Hunter would give you that 8 out of combat movement speed plus 8 per bounty hunter stack. So you would gain an additional 8 times 48 movement speed out of combat from Relentless Hunter, assuming you had a kill or assist on every champion in the game. So, what do we want? Do we want Taste of Blood, where you get 18 to 35 health whenever you deal damage to an enemy champion with a 20-second cooldown? Or do you want Sudden Impact? After exiting stealth or using a dash, leap, blink, or teleport, any damage to a champion grants you 10 lethality and 8 magic penetration for 5 seconds. No, that's useless on Tahm Kench because he doesn't have any of those other than his ultimate, and you don't use your ultimate in that way. So, Cheap Shot, really good. Gives you the true damage after you use a Q. You could use Zombie Ward. After killing a ward, a friendly zombie ward is raised in its place. Additionally, when your wards expire, they reanimate as zombie wards. Zombie wards are visible, last for 180 seconds, and don't count towards your ward limit. That's really good, especially as a support jungle Tahm Kench style of play. You could do Eyeball Collection, gain adaptive for Eyeball collected. Nope, that's for damaged champions like Ezreal. Don't do it. Ghost Poro, kind of cool, but I would rather have Zombie Ward. So the question is, do we do Cheap Shot, which is more for the ganks, Ingenious Hunter, So it's between three, it looks like. It's between Cheap Shot, Zombie Ward, and Ingenious Hunter. So if you are going for a more aggressive, ganking, damage building style of jungler, where you have Braum support, or Blitzcrank support, or Thresh support, or Nautilus support, Alistar support, somebody that's a frontline support, then you can be more of a damage dealer, in which you would get Cheap Shot and, in my opinion, Ingenious Hunter. So this would be for more damage dealing style of jungle support. If you had a squishy support like Karma, Lulu, Zyra, Brand, somebody that cannot be a frontline but is going to be dealing more damage, then you want to be more of a tanky support warding style of champion. In which case you would do Cheap Shot and you would do Zombie Ward. Cheap Shot. Zombie Ward. Zombie Ward, and the reason why you do it this way is because when you drop a ward, it's invisible and lasts for 120 seconds. And keep in mind this 180 second, that's wrong, it's actually 120 seconds. Because your trinket's 120 seconds and your zombie wards are 120 seconds. It's not 180 seconds. But it doesn't count towards your ward limit, so you can go out, you can ward a whole bunch, you can recall, all those wards stay out, and when they expire, they reanimate as zombie wards to continue that vision for an additional 180 seconds, and you can place more wards, and those zombie wards don't count towards your ward limit. And of course, you still keep the Cheap Shot because it's still really good. Is there something else we would rather... I would say, actually, instead of doing Cheap Shot, you would do Relentless Hunter. So we're going to instead change this up. We're going to do Relentless Hunter, gain 8 out of combat movement speed plus 8 per bounty hunter stack, and earn a bounty hunter stack the first time you get a takedown on each enemy champion, and you get the zombie ward. After killing a ward, a friendly zombie ward is raised in place. Because what are you going to be doing as support from the jungle, Tahm Kench? You're going to be warding a lot, because that's your job as a support. You're going to be moving around in the enemy jungle a lot, so you want that extra movement speed to get places faster. But you also want this out of combat movement speed so you can recover from going on these warding trips to help in a team fight to get to your AD carry or your mid laner faster. Like I said, you're basically building to be a support from the jungle champion. You have a support that's already kind of babysitting your AD carry, so you can babysit your mid laner or top laner, depending on whether or not they are ahead or behind or whatever. But the idea is you support from the jungle, you build support items, and you can get Relentless Hunter for the increased movement speed, or you can also get Ingenious Hunter for the unique, for the active item CDR. I would say prioritize for the active item CDR. That means your Locket is on a shorter cooldown. If you get Zz'Rot Portal, which I think is really good on Tahm Kench in the jungle now, you could, so you get that. See, you get Knight's Vow, which has active item CDR. You can get Titanic Hydra if you want to be a little bit more damage dealing for the active item CDR, but I wouldn't get Titanic Hydra on Jungle Kench. Righteous Glory would be really good on this style of Tahm Kench in the jungle as a active item ability. Randuin's Omen would be really good here. Basically any item that a support Tahm Kench would use, but also has an active item ability, would be really good with Ingenious Hunter in this particular rune page setup. We're going to go ahead and save that there, and we're going to rename this Inspiration Domination. And we're going to move on. So that is Inspiration Precision, Inspiration Domination, Inspiration Sorcery. We're going to take this and we're going to rename it DK Jungle 2. Save. And we're going to redo this to be, not resolve. Inspiration Glacial Lock. Biscuits, Boots, approach, and domination is here. And this is the one where we're going to be more aggressive, so we're going to take that, and we're going to take this, and save. Alright, let's talk about support Tahm Kench real quick, and then we're going to move straight into why items are so important. Itemization is really important with the different types of rune pages you're taking. So first off, there are only 2 rune pages I think are any good with Tahm Kench as support, and they both are Resolve Inspiration. So, support rune page number 1 for Tahm Kench is if you are going into a matchup against a poke-heavy champion like Sona, or Brand, or Zyra, or Teemo, or any other support champion that wants to poke you often and deals magic damage with their poke. Like Teemo has the poison to go along with his poke, even though he's an auto attacker. Brand does a lot of poke with magic damage. Zyra does a lot of poke with magic damage. Basically, you just want to stack that magic resistance early. So, Guardian, guard allies within 175 units of you. If you are the ally, take damage. You gain a shield and are hit for 0.5 seconds. This also applies to you, and also theoretically to your ally. If you devour them out of CC, you get the shield and the haste, a 45-second cooldown, so once every minute or so you get this Guardian ability. It does not trigger if you do not take the damage within the 2.5 seconds, blah 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 blah. Really good. Tenacity. Unflinching. After casting a summoner spell, gain 15% tenacity and slow resistance for 10 seconds. So if you flash, you gain 15% tenacity and slow resistance for 10 seconds. If you flash exhaust, you gain 30% tenacity and slow resistance for 10 seconds. Additionally, gain 10% tenacity and slow resistance for each summoner spell on cooldown. So say at level 2 you flash exhaust all in the enemy duo bot lane, you get 50% tenacity and slow resistance. So you could flash, exhaust, Q, auto, devour, and have 50% tenacity and 50% slow resistance. So you would be mitigating a lot of your self-slow from the devour if you flash, exhaust, went all in. And you would take Mirror Shell, like I was talking about, for the resistance to the poke that you're getting, and you would take Second Wind to help heal you after taking that poke. In the Inspiration tree, you have 130 plus 130 health for having the Resolve tree as your primary tree. You would take Approach Velocity because it is amazing on Tahm Kench, as we've already discussed. And you would take Biscuit Delivery because you need to sustain against all the damage that you are being dealt by the poke champions like Sona, Brand, Zyra, etc, etc, etc. So you take this Biscuit Delivery and get a free biscuit for 15% of your missing health and mana, and increase your mana cap by 40 permanently. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. The second one is Tahm Kench Conditioning in the Resolve Inspiration tree. So the only difference here is you take Conditioning instead of Mirror Shell, and you take Overgrowth instead of Second Wind, and you take Hextech Flash Traption instead of Biscuit Delivery, because this is for matchups like Thresh, like Blitzcrank, like Braum, like Nautilus, like Alistar, where you are not really getting poked out, but you're doing the all-ins more frequently. So you still take the Unflinching because it gives you the tenacity and slow resistance, which is really good on Tahm Kench, but instead of taking the Sustain from the Second Wind, you take Overgrowth for the increased maximum health. Instead of taking Biscuit Delivery, you take Hextech Flash Traption, which allows you to flash more frequently if you do it right, like channeling it from a bush where you are out of vision. You can basically use your Flash Exhaust as an all-in, and then 60 seconds later, if you're in the bush and you have vision control of that bush, you can flash out of that bush to gap close onto the enemy AD carry for another all-in attempt. It's really cool. I like the idea. I think it's really good on Tahm Kench into melee matchups like Braum, Leona, Thresh, Blitzcrank, etc, etc, etc. So there you go, guys. That is the Tahm Kench rune pages that I really like. Let me know what you think in the comments of the video down below. Go ahead and drop a like and a subscribe if you are new to my channel. And definitely stick around. I will be streaming some more Tahm Kench and more support champions in general this season. I've yet to decide on what I want to do for my Extra Life charity campaign. That will be starting in January with the new season of the Extra Life donation drive, but it should be a lot of fun. So stick around, keep your eyes open for that, and let's move into items and itemization in conjunction with these new rune pages. So, items. There are two ways to go with items. Either you have the precision tree giving you increased attack speed in the top lane, or you don't have the precision tree giving you increased attack speed in the top lane. First, if you have the precision tree that gives you attack speed in the top lane, whether that's because you have inspiration as your primary tree and precision as your secondary tree, or you have precision as your primary tree, your starting block and your basic itemization is just like before. Before the rune changes in general. You start with either a corrupting potion or a Doran's shield and a potion, or you could also do the rejuvenation bead shenaniganry and a potion or a refillable potion. But that's basically it. You could do, so let's go ahead and add those in here as well. Rejuvenation beads and potions. Rejuvenation bead and refillable. Or triple rejuvenation bead. So basically, just like before, it's like you were itemizing before the rune changes. That's basically all you need to know. All the stuff is the same here. Build path is pretty much essentially the same. You try and go for the Titanic Hydra first, or you go for an armor item first, or whatever, depending on the matchup. Boom, pretty easy. What we need to talk about is when you are going with a tree or a rune tree combination that does not give you the increased attack speed. So, if you have precision or inspiration as the primary tree with precision as the secondary tree, then you can go with that regular itemization. If you have any other combination of trees, so resolve precision, which you would never do because precision as a secondary tree when you don't have inspiration as the primary tree is garbage. But when you have resolve inspiration, or resolve sorcery, or resolve domination, or inspiration resolve, or inspiration domination, any other rune tree combination that your heart's desire, your heart could possibly desire, even that phase rush garbage, you need to have a different starting set. Basically, attack speed is king on Tahm Kench. We've been talking about this over and over and over again. You really like that attack speed on Tahm Kench. Resolve gives you additional health at the start of the game, 130 additional health to be precise. So, depending on the matchup, you either go dagger for potions, dagger refillable, or dagger rejuvenation bead potion. Why? Because dagger gives you that 12% attack speed, it builds directly into stinger, which gives you plus 35% attack speed, which makes the early game so much easier. And it builds into Trinity Force, which is your first item that you always build as this non-precision tree attacks style of Tahm Kench. You don't necessarily need the Wit's End if you're going to be team fighting a lot, because you can build a second tank item. But the way I'm going to be playing this particular style of Tahm Kench is dagger, and then one of these three options, whether it's 4 potions, refillable, or rejuvenation bead and a potion. And my build path, depending on which one I take, is corrupting potion plus boots and the cloth armor, or boots and the null magic mantle. If I start the refillable, or if I start 4 potions, then it means I want to stay out in lane long enough to get straight into a stinger, or straight into a phage, or straight into a Tiamat, or a combination of the above, depending on how much gold I get from all this fun stuff. But yeah, your basic idea is you either want to get the stinger or the phage and go straight into the Trinity Force. You want to get your tier 2 boots. Most of the time it's Ninja Tabby because the extra armor and the passive of blocking 10% damage from basic attacks is really good. So Ninja Tabby, straight into Triforce. Triforce is really good because it gives you the health, gives you the mana, gives you attack damage, attack speed, 20% cooldown reduction, 5% bonus movement speed, or 5% movement speed, and your basic attacks grant you the rage, which gives you 20 movement speed for 2 seconds simply by basic attacking, and kills grant 60% movement speed. This movement speed is half for ranged champions. You're not a ranged champion, so that doesn't matter. It also gives you that Spellblade, where after using a ability, the next basic attack deals bonus magic damage equal to 200% of your basic attack damage on hit with a 1.5 second cooldown. Really good for clearing minions, for helping to take down towers. Really good for trading into champions. So once you get Spellblade with Trinity Force, you can Q auto and deal a bunch of damage that way. And full build path. Let's talk about why this itemization is important. Because like I said, you don't get the attack speed from your runes anymore. So you want to get the attack speed from Trinity Force right away. That's why it's now you must rush this first item by. Period. End of story. Don't even consider anything else as a first rush item buy with this non-attack speed rune style of rune page. Then you get that Tiamat for the wave clear. You can sit on Tiamat for 2, 3, even 4 items, but you need the Tiamat itself for the wave clear. You don't necessarily need the Titanic Hydra immediately, but the Tiamat for the wave clear is super important. I like Wit's End, but notice what I say right here. This is Bruiser. The reason I say Bruiser is because you are a tanky Bruiser. A Bruiser is a champion like Riven, Tryndamere, Irelia, Camille. Yasuo is technically a Bruiser in my opinion. But these are champions that build 2 to 3 damage items and then tank, as opposed to just building straight tank or straight damage items. So you are a very, very tanky Bruiser. What that means is, early to mid-game, you are tanky against your lane opponent, but you are not tanky. So in a team fight, you'll get blown up. Period. End of story. This is for 1v1ing your lane opponent while you are split pushing. You are not there to be a team fighting tank. You are a flanker. You are doing different things based on your team composition, but you are not there to frontline for your team unless you are 10-0, 15 minutes into the game, and you are fed beyond belief, at which point you are also very, very tanky in addition to dealing a crap ton of damage. But the idea behind this, like I said, you are not a tank, you are a Bruiser. You are there to blow up the enemy team, AD carry or mid laner, and you are there to split push and take towers and just generally create macro chaos. Create pressure around the map. Use Tahm Kench's hit to his advantage, which is using his ultimate to rotate around the map faster than anybody else can, in conjunction with teleport, and just be a general macro nuisance to the enemy team. Because you would be a dueling and split pushing god with this build. So, Trinity Force is always that first rush item after you get the boot that you need. Tiamat for the wave clear, and then I like to go Wit's End. Wit's End gives you more attack speed, again to make up for the lack of attack speed that you are missing from old school runes and or having the precision tree involved. Gives you magic resist, which you absolutely need because you don't have any magic resist from Ninja Tabi. If you're against an AP opponent and you don't need armor, you can go Merc Treads and Wit's End, but then keep in mind you will still be very squishy in the armor department, so you might consider rushing one of the components of the Thornmail at that point, but we can talk about that later. But basically, it's Ninja Tabi, Trinity Force, Wit's End if you want to be a split push dueling god. Otherwise, instead of the Wit's End, you would go with something like a Spirit Visage, Abyssal Mask, or Adaptive Helm for the magic resist. And then you would go straight into Thornmail because you're going to need a lot more armor at this point since you are itemizing 3 total items towards damage. Trinity Force, Wit's End, and Titanic Hydra. You need as much armor as you can get from a single item. That item is Thornmail, period, end of story. Gives you 80 armor, 250 health, and the passives are still really good on Tahm Kench, Grievous Wounds, and Cold Steel, slowing attack speed by 15% per second. Both really good. And then a full build, late game, end-all be-all build would be something like your tier 2 boots, which is either Tabi or Merc Treads, Trinity Force, Wit's End, Titanic Hydra, giving you 2 slots open for tank items. For me, I really like Righteous Glory. Gives you an additional 30 armor, 10% cooldown reduction, and it gives you the active, gain 75% movement speed when moving towards enemies, so you can ult into a flanking position for a team fight, activate Righteous Glory to zoom in right on top of the enemy AD carry, and because you have all this attack speed and the auto attack reset from Titanic Hydra, you'll basically blow them up immediately. period, end of story. And you would do Thornmail on top of that, so it would be something like Tabby, Hydra, Wit's End, Triforce, Thornmail, and Righteous Glory would be a full build. You would get Magic Resist from the Wit's End, which just gives you barely enough to not get completely and utterly shellacked by a Burst Mage like Syndra, or some other Burst Mage. Orianna would be another example of a Burst Mage that you do not want to get shellacked by. The combination of the MR plus the 35 to 4,000 health that you're going to have would give you enough to not be just completely blown up. And then you would have Thornmail and Righteous Glory so that you have a lot of armor against the sustained damage of an 80 carry. And then you would have all of the damage coming out of a Triforce plus Wit's End plus Titanic Hydra coming in and bursting them out. So there's the advantage there. That's how you'd play a team fight with a build like that. And of course, where this is also really good is you have all this attack speed plus Demolish from the Resolve tree to be in a side lane most of the game, split pushing, destroying minions, destroying towers, and generally causing havoc on the side lanes. If you're into an AP heavy comp where it's, a Rumble that you're laning against, or a Vladimir or a Swain or something along those lines, you would still go Triforce, Wit's End, Titanic Hydra. You could consider going Ninja Tabby still, or some armor, but you would go Spirit Visage or Adaptive Helm or Abyssal Mask. If there's not a lot of auto attackers, then you could go Mercury Treads and Spirit Visage or Abyssal Mask or Adaptive Helm. You would still want Thornmail. Period. End of story. The build for a AP heavy team or AP laner that you're going up against would be Mercury Treads into Trinity Force into Wit's End into Thornmail into Spirit Visage or Abyssal Mask or Adaptive Helm. So we're going to go ahead and move over here. Move this up here. So these 5 are almost always in the build. If you're going with Merc Treads instead of Ninja Tabbies, it still looks like this. And then your last item is either the Spirit Visage or the Abyssal Mask or the Adaptive Helm, but that's not the build order. You would go something like Ninja Tabby or Merc Treads into Trinity Force, into Wit's End, into probably Spirit Visage or Abyssal Mask most cases, possibly Adaptive Helm if you're against like a Rumble or a Swain or a Rise or Cassiopeia, or you have some other champion like that does a lot of damage over time, magic damage. You could go Adaptive Helm over the Spirit Visage, but oftentimes it's going to be the Spirit Visage or the Abyssal Mask. And then always, always, always with the Thornmail for that huge armor spike to really help you deal with 80 carries if they come to screw with you. And then that would be basically it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. No Righteous Glory in this one because you need the extra spot for the extra MR. Thornmail, obviously, like I said, still important to deal with 80 carry. If you're into an all AD matchup, then you can choose to opt out of the Wit's End entirely and actually go with something like Ginzu's Rageblade if you still want to be more bruiser-ish. Or if you're going into an all AD matchup, you don't need the Wit's End. You don't have to take the Wit's End at all for the magic resist. But it's really good because you can steal the magic resistance of your opponents. So, I mean, you're not using the magic resistance anymore at that point, but you're stealing magic resistance, which is still really good. You're still getting the plus 40% attack speed, which is really good, and you're dealing an additional 40 bonus magic damage on hit. So that's also really good. So if you're going into an all AD matchup, you can go with Wit's End, you can go with Ginsu's, or you can just go with more armor tank. So into an all AD matchup, what that would look like would be something like Tabby, Trinity Force, Titanic Hydra, Wit's End if you wanted it, or Ginsu's if you wanted it. If not, it would just be Tabby, Trinity Force, Titanic Hydra, Thornmail, Righteous Glory, Randuin's Omen, Deadman's Plate, Sunfire Cape, ZZ Rot Portal, Gargoyle Stone Plate, a combination of things. You could go with Locket of the Iron Solari to apply to your 80 carry. You could go, or or not Locket of the Eye, you could go with Knight's Vow rather to apply to your AD carry to give them more armor and give you more armor and get sustained from your AD carry and give them a little bit more protection with your health pool. You could also go with Locket of the Iron Solari for the big massive AoE shield in team fights if you wanted to go that route. But like I said, this is more of a bruiser build, so you'd probably want to do something like Ninja Tabby, Trinity Force, Titanic Hydra. You could actually, instead of Wit's End, let's see here, attack speed items. Ooh, instead of Wit's End, what I would do, if I were you, is Nashor's Tooth. So or Nashor's Tooth or Phantom Dancer. So, let's talk about attack speed items. This is every single attack speed item in the game. You would not go with Berserker's Greaves, because Berserker's Greaves does not give you attack speed. Well, it does, but you would want Ninja Tabby or Mercury Treads, so that's not an option. So, options for attack speed as against all AD Bruiser Tahm Kench. Trinity Force, we've already got that. It's automatic. Wit's End, we've already talked about that, why it's good, because you steal MR. Nashor's Tooth is really good because it gives you 80 ability power, plus 20% cooldown reduction, and 50% attack speed, and it still gives you that unique passive in where basic attacks deal 15 plus 15% of your ability power bonus magic damage on hit. So it's giving you the same on-hit magic damage as Wit's End, essentially. You'll have 80 ability power, plus and 15% of that, 10% of that is 8, another 5 is 15, so you get about 28 on-hit damage, magic damage, from Nashor's Tooth, just from the ability power that you would gain from the item itself. The 20% cooldown reduction, it's 3,000 gold versus the 2,500 gold. So we'll go ahead and throw it in here, just for austerity's sake. You could also go with Blade of the Ruined King, which gives you 25% attack speed plus 12% lifesteal, and gives you the unique passive where basic attacks deal 8% of the target's current health as bonus physical damage. So this is another attack speed option versus an all AD team. And then you could also go with Ginsu's. Okay, let's talk about these. And you could also go with Phantom Dancer. So let's talk about these 4 options. Phantom Dancer gives you more dueling power because you have the unique passive Lament. The last champion hit deals 12% damage to you, ends after 10 seconds of not hitting. So if you're dueling someone, they deal 12% less damage to you when you have Phantom Dancer. You get 45% attack speed, plus 5% movement speed, which is really nice on Tahm Kench as a top lane dueling split pushing champion. And you get 30% critical strike chance, which I mean is not great on Tahm Kench, but it's there, so there's that. And you also get the unique passive of Spectral Waltz, which is while within 550 units of an enemy champion you can see, plus 7% movement speed, and you can move through units. So there's that one. There's Nashor's Tooth, which gives you the 50% attack speed, plus 80 ability power, plus 20% cooldown reduction, and basic attacks deal 15 plus 15% of your ability power, bonus magic damage on hit. There's Blade of the Ruined King, which gives 40 plus 40 attack damage, 25% attack speed, 12% lifesteal, and the unique passive of basic attacks deal 8% of target's current health as bonus physical damage on hit. And then there is and it also has the active slow. Deal 100 magic damage to target champion and steals 25% of their movement speed for 3 seconds. It's not technically a slow, it just steals movement speed. Minimum bonus physical damage dealt is 15. Maximum bonus physical damage dealt to monsters and minions is 60. There is no maximum bonus physical damage dealt to enemy champions. User's lifesteal is applied to bonus physical damage dealt. So that's pretty cool. And then there's, of course, Ginsu's Rageblade, which gives you plus 35 attack damage and plus 50 ability power, plus 25% attack speed, passive, basic attacks deal an additional 15 magic damage on hit. So you get additional magic damage on hit just from the passive, and you get the unique passive of basic attacks grant plus 80% attack speed, plus 3 attack damage, plus 4 ability power for 5 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. And when you have 6 stacks, you gain Ginsu's Rage, and Ginsu's Rage is every other basic attack will trigger on hits effects an additional time, a second time. So, let's talk about these all for a versus AD team. Versus all AD. So we're going to move all these down and talk about one at a time. Versus attack speed versus all AD comps. When you don't need the magic resistance from a Wit's End, and you need the attack speed, because you're not taking attack speed at all in the rune tree itself, Phantom Dancer is really good if all you're going to be doing is dueling. You don't want to be team fighting at all. You want movement speed, and you want damage reduction against the champion that you're dueling, and you want the ghost, the no movement block, the whatever it's called, spectral waltz while within 550, no minion block. You gain 7% movement speed, and you can move through units. So that's really good if all you're going to be doing is AFK split pushing 1v1 all the time. You get the attack speed, you get the movement speed, you get the lament. Really, really solid. This is really solid if you want to be tower mashing. So you could go either Phantom Dancer or Nashor's Tooth. Both of these are into all AD teams that are all squishy. Like the champion you're going to be laning against is squishy. So other bruisers like Riven, Irelia, Tryndamere, Fiora, etc., those types of bruisers, you would want Nashor's Tooth or Phantom Dancer. I would say Nashor's Tooth into champions that don't stack magic resistance. Phantom Dancer into champions that do stack magic resistance, maybe? Well, actually, if they're stacking magic resistance, I still want to go Wit's End. So we're going to go ahead and add the Wit's End to this attack speed versus all AD comps. If you see they're stacking magic resistance against you, then Wit's End. If they're not stacking magic resistance against you, you can take Phantom Dancer, or you can take Nashor's Tooth, or you can take Ginsu's Rageblade. And then if it's a all AD comp and they have a lot of hit points, so a Sejuani and Malphite, or like, so tanks, big tanks, Sejuani, Malphite, I don't know, big tanks that deal physical damage. There aren't really many of them, but basically big tanks that all they're there for is tanking and they don't deal a lot of magic damage, and you don't need the magic damage. Then you could go Blade of the Ruined King to get the on-hit physical damage. So, pretty cool. Very, very rare that you would ever do Blade of the Ruined King. I would say 90% of the time, even against an all-AD comp, you would still take Wit's End to steal magic resist away from the enemy champion and give yourself more magic resistance. Actually, no, I would say you would go Wit's End about 60% of the time. And then 20% of the time you could go Phantom Dancer, and 20% of the time you can Nashor's Tooth. Nashor's Tooth is going to give you more damage against towers. Phantom Dancer is going to give you more dueling power. So if you're going up against a champion that you really need to be good at dueling against, you would go Phantom Dancer. If you need more damage to towers and you're not worried about dueling your opposing laner, then you would go Nashor's Tooth or Ginsu's Rageblade. Actually, you would not go Nashor's Tooth ever, you would go Ginsu's Rageblade. So we're just going to take the Nashor's Tooth out completely. Against all AD comps, if they're stacking MR, you take Wit's End. If they're not stacking MR, you take Phantom Dancer or Ginsu's Rageblade. You would take Phantom Dancer if you need more dueling power because it gives you Lament. You would take Ginsu's Rageblade if you want to just absolutely destroy towers. So there it is, guys. There is the itemization for Tahm Kench when you are not starting precision attack speed in your rune tree at all, period, end of story. That's it. We will get into, let's go ahead and do itemization for Tahm Kench as a support. We're going to do that in about 2 minutes right after I get back. So let's go ahead. Alright guys, we are back. Let's talk about, we'll be right back guys, something else to go with this. what are we talking about next? We are talking about itemization for Tahm Kench in the jungle. So let's close the particular page. So we have 2 item pages for Tahm Kench and top lane. That up and can't. So we need a new item set, and we're gonna call this Tahm Kench TK Jungle Domination. More support. And we're going to go ahead and save that now. And let's go ahead and take a look at our rune page. And what this is going to be in conjunction specifically is the Inspiration Domination with Ingenious Hunter and Zombie Ward. So, Glacial Augment, Biscuit Delivery, Magical Footwear, Approach Velocity. You guys saw me talk about this before. This is the item set that goes with it. And what this is going to be Jungle here, Tracker's Knife, that builds into Cinder Hulk. And items that have an active item ability and are support. So, Locket, Knight's Vow. Both have active item abilities. And health. We're going to look at health items. Just items that grant health. Specifically have an active item ability in addition to it, hopefully. So these are going to be items like, where is it? Righteous Glory. Because you are jungle, so there's a meme, there's a joke about Warmogs on champions, and you don't take it. Or Warmogs on Tahm Kench, and you don't take Warmogs on Tahm Kench every period, end of story. That is for top lane Kench, and that is for actual support Tahm Kench. But if you're in the jungle as Tahm Kench, I would say take Warmogs. So these are all going to be items that you would theoretically take with Tahm Kench. I would say your core items are these 3 plus Boots of Mobility. This is your core block, core items. End of story, because Knight's Vow gives you 250 health, 40 armor, 10% cooldown reduction, and you make a allied champion your partner, 90-second cooldown. If your partner is nearby, gain 20 additional armor, 15% movement, additional movement speed towards them. If your partner is nearby, heal for 12% of the damage your partner deals to champions, and redirect 12% of the damage your partner takes from champions to you as true damage. Healing and damage redirection are reduced by 50% if you're ranged. You are not ranged, so it's not reduced. Sweet. And Knights. So you get Knight's Vow, you get Locket of the Iron Solari for the additional armor and magic resist, and the AoE shield. Stacks with your health. 2% to 36% of your bonus health. AoE shield. Blah, 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 blah. And then additional item. So you've got the armor from this. 40 armor. You gain an additional 20 armor if your ally is nearby. So 60 armor from that. Another 30 armor from this, and 60 magic resistance. That magic resistance number is huge. This is probably going to be your only magic resistance item for this support style of Tahm Kench in the jungle. And then additional items is Righteous Glory and Warmogs, or armor and health. Thornmail is really good here. Randuin's is really good here. Randuin's we're going to throw over here because these additional items we're going to rank in terms of usefulness. Warmogs is, I'll be perfectly honest, Warmogs is almost a necessity just for the 800 health, the base health regen, plus the passive cooldown reduction, and the Warmog's Heart, 207, to restore 25% of your maximum health every 5 seconds if you haven't damaged with 6 seconds or 3 seconds from minions and monsters, blah, 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 blah. But Warmogs is really good. Just gives you that massive health pool and regen, so you can stay out and stay supporting your mid laner or AD carry longer. Righteous Glory, like I said, really strong. Let's see, health. Other health items from the jungle that have active item abilities. Alright, so I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna switch this up. I'm gonna say Knight's Vow is not a requirement. I want to try Stalker's healing, reduce damage, healing 24% movement speed per second, or might can be cast on bonus true damage or second damage to you is going to be Blue Smite. It's going to be Cinderhulk Blue Smite. And you're going to take Ruby Sightstone and Righteous Glory. I think this is the core build path for Tahm Kench Jungle, guys. Yeah, so this is going to be support. Ooh, no, actually, we're going to come back to this. This is not the support Tahm Kench Jungle build path. This is the more aggressive Tahm Kench Jungle build path. So it's still this one for support from the jungle. And Knight's Vow and Warmogs and Righteous Glory here. We also do and then additional items. Yeah, these 5 are going to be your core in some order, probably like this. Because you're not going to be using the Knight's Vow as much early. This is more of a late game item for you as a support from the jungle, Tahm Kench. You would want this after 30 minutes. You would want Cinderhulk into lock it into Warmogs, into Knight's Vow, into your last item, which would be like Righteous Glory or Randuin's Omen or Thornmail. Yeah, you could also. What else? If there's a lot of MR or your team has a lot of magic damage, you could also do Abyssal Mask or Adaptive Helm. You wouldn't do any of those. If you need AoE healing, you'd consider doing Redemption. Be even more of a support. So yeah, I could see Redemption being actually one of the core items. So this would be kind of your additional items in addition to your core items. Now let's talk about build path. So build path for this particular block as a true support from the jungle style of Tahm Kench is that plus the refillable, because you're getting the increased sustain from the inspiration tree. You get the plus 10% lifesteal from the machete, and base attacks for monsters deal 25 bonus magic damage on hit and grants you 15% bonus attack speed for 2 seconds. Killing monsters grants special experience. And that would be the starting block. And then The next block would be your Jungle Blade. Cinder Hulk. Actually go here and Moby Boots. These are the first two you want to get. Moby Boots for the out of combat movement speed, and Bammy Cinder for the extra health and dealing dealing the AoE magic damage to jungle camps. So raptors in particular and Krugs secondary. This really helps with. Also helps with wolves, blue and red jungle camps. But more importantly, this really helps with the AoE clear on raptors and Krugs. So you would go Moby Boots and Bammys in some order. And then out of Bammys, you would go your Stalker's Blade Cinder Hulk. So early build path. Bammys obviously builds into the Cinder Hulk. And then Locket. The Iron Solari. You would want to get Aegis for the armor and magic resistance into Locket. And your core items, like I said, Boots, Cinder Hulk, Locket. And we're going to do one more for mid-game finish build. That up there. And so you're going to have Boots, Cinder Hulk, Stalker Blade, Locket, Warmogs. Knight's Vow is your last core item. We don't need that. We can keep that. So just know that your build path is Boots, Cinder Hulk, Locket, Warmogs, and Knight's Vow for your core build. And then as a jungle Kench, you don't need to be stacking control wards as importantly as your support will be, but you want to leave that 5th item slot open until you can flat out buy the last item. The last item being Redemption, or Redemption would be really good here because it's an active item. Heal. You could also do Righteous Glory because it has the active item movement speed increase and slow once you're there, which actually works really well in conjunction with the Glacial Augment. Randuin's Omen for a crit heavy team like you know, a Yasuo and a crit ADC and potentially a crit top laner or something along, or a crit jungler. So Randuin's Omen would be really good there. Thornmail is really good against a sustain team like a Trundle, Tryndamere, sustain champion like Callista, or Master Yi in the jungle. You know, any sustain style champion. Warwick would be really good against Warwick. You would take Abyssal Mask or Adaptive Helm into AP heavy team, or Adaptive Helm specifically against AP heavy where it's consistent damage like a Ryze or a Swain or a Vladimir or a Teemo. Cassiopeia, you would take Abyssal Mask if you need the MR, but you have an MR or an AP damage heavy team yourself, like you have an AP mid, AP damage support like Brand or Zyra. You also deal AP damage primarily, so this would be really good for you to increase your damage. And you had like an AP top laner like a Rumble or a Swain or a Vladimir. It would help their damage as well. So Abyssal Mask is really good there. You could also do Spirit Visage if you wanted more health to go with your MR instead of the Abyssal Mask, and you didn't need because you don't really need the mana from it. So we'll add this in here as well. I would say the priority would be Abyssal Mask or Spirit Visage if you don't need the extra mana and you want the MR and you want more health. Get the cooldown reduction either way. This one increases the healing you receive by 30%, so it works well in conjunction with Warmogs. If you need Adaptive Helm, you would get that over Spirit Visage or Abyssal Mask for matchups like Cassiopeia, Brand, Teemo, Zyra, Ryze, champions like that. Swain would be another great example of getting the Adaptive Helm over the Abyssal Mask / Spirit Visage. And that is the more support style of Tahm Kench in the jungle. We'll go ahead and save that. And let's see here. I've found it. That. And sure my audio is working. I don't have any sound at the moment. Let's go ahead, come over here. That. And make sure my audio is working. I don't have any sound at the moment. Let's go ahead, come over here. That. And make sure my audio is working. I don't have any sound at the moment. Let's go ahead, come over here. That. And okay, audio is working. We're good to go. I just wanted to make sure it was working because I wasn't hearing anything, but my headphones had turned off because they do. All right. Back to the items. All right, so that was the more support style of Tahm Kench in the jungle. Now we're going to go with the TK Jungle Inspiration Domination. More aggressive. And we'll go ahead and save that. Come back over here, look at the runes. And this was for the Cheap Shot Ingenious Hunter. So this is Cheap Shot Ingenious Hunter with Glacial Augment, Biscuit Delivery, Magical Footwear, Approach Velocity. You can go back and take a look at that if you want. I'm not going to go into in-depth right now because this is the itemization. So, jungle. This is where our starting block is the machete and the refillable potion. This is starting block. And this is where we go blue smite instead of green smite because we're going to be doing something slightly different. We're going to be abusing the active item mechanic and still warding, but differently because we want the blue smite instead of the green smite. So, blue smite, still want the boots. Excuse me. So here we want either Boots of Mobility or Ninja Tabi or Mercenary Treads because we're going to be doing more frontline fighting with this build. So if you want the early ganking, then you go Mobility and then you swap later game. So actually what we're going to do is this. It's just straight like this. This is your early game build order. Here with the Cinderhulk, but with Bammies. Yep. Okay, and so that we're just that. And second item, Righteous. Go ahead and clear that. We're going to go armor. Oh, actually, no, we're just going to go health for now. And this is going to be for build. Boots, ability, Blue Smite, Cinderhulk, Righteous Glory. Just Magic Resist, active item. So almost always lock it. And then where is Sightstone? Sightstone. Sightstone builds into Ruby Sightstone. And Health, active item ability. $20, $30, $60. It's still Warmogs. Yep. That's it. So we're gonna move. This is that reduce 20%. That would reduce this item active cooldown by 20%. This one by 20%. We're not gonna do Warmogs. We're gonna do. To abuse the cooldown reduction. So, this is 400 health plus 500 health plus 300 health. That's 800. 1200 bonus health modified by 20%. And you get 60 magic resistance and 30 armor here, 30 armor here, and 55 armor and 55 magic resistance here. So you are tanky. You get the Zz'Rot portal, which is great for sieging, because you're always going to be grouping up with your team in this build. You're going to be a frontline tank. You drop the Zz'Rot portal right behind where you're sieging, and you go to town using the Zz'Rot portal plus the Righteous Glory and lock it at the Iron Solari, and you're still warding frequently as the Ruby Sightstone secondary support. We're going to drop this in the 5 slot. We're going to drop this in the 1 slot. Slot. Boards are always on 5 for me, and but they're there. And this would be in the T is for when you want to drop the portal. 5 is for dropping wards. 1 is for Righteous Glorying on top of the enemy champion. 2 is for the Locket of the Iron Solari for the big buff AoE shield. And this is the core build. So this is for the more tanky aggro. We're going to call this more tank / aggro build. So early game, you want the Blue Smite for the slow, for the increased damage, for the increased gank potential. You still take the Cinderhulk. You want the Sightstone because you're not taking the green Stalker's Blade, you're taking the Chilling Smite instead of the Stalker's Blade. So you get the Sightstone for the extra 150 health and the ability to place those stealth wards on the map still. You go those 3, and then you would go Righteous, or I think you would go Locket, Righteous, Zz'Rot. Nope, you would go, yeah, like that. In this case, I don't even think Righteous is... I don't know. Righteous is good. Zz'Rot's still good. Locket's still good. That's the order we want to go in. So I would say move this like this. Zz'Rot is just a late game resistance item. Yeah, like this. So it's going to be boots, Locket, Ruby Sightstone. So take a look at this build, total build cost, guys. 900 gold, 2,500 gold. Let's go ahead and grab a calculator here and actually do this math. So this is, take a look at this full build cost, guys. 900 plus 2,500 plus 2,200. That's 5,600 gold. for 3 completed items. You're getting a really significant gold income in the jungle because you're not support, you're getting the gold for yourself. Your clear is still very strong because of your W plus the Cinder Hulk, but it's only 5,600 gold for those 3. Add in a completed Ruby Sightstone, and it's only 7,200 gold to be at 3 completed items plus Boots of Mobility. Righteous Glory added in 9,850 gold. So to be 5 items, almost full build, is less than 10,000 gold. Add in the Zz'Rot portal, your full build is 12,550 gold. An 80 carries full build is like 16,000 gold. A mid laner's full build is like 16,000 gold. Gangplank top lane full build is like 18,000 gold, guys. So you're getting your full build way faster, but you're still getting tanky because you're getting all this HP. You're still being a support from the jungle because you got the wards instead of the blue smite. Instead of the green smite, you get the wards from Ruby Sightstone. You still are supporting because you've got the Locket of the Iron Solari for the big AoE shield. And this is more of a, you need to be a frontline tank versus you need to be a sitting on your damage dealing carries as a true support. So this is you're a frontline tank between Locket of the Iron Solari and Cinder Hulk and Ruby Sightstone. So it gives you the resist you need from those 3 and the resist you need from Righteous Glory. So we're gonna go ahead and add this to 1 slot like normal. Save that. So you get the resists from these 2 items early, plus the Inspiration Tree, Domination Tree. Sure, we'll take the resist there as well. I would say you need the Ninja Tabby for the armor resists because you're going to be frontlining. You're going to be frontlining. You need the armor resistances. So Ninja Tabby is almost a requirement here. So instead of Boots of Mobility. Because you want that extra armor from Ninja Tabby. You want the passive from the Ninja Tabby. So Ninja Tabby, Blue Smite, Locket of the Iron Solari, Ruby Sightstone, Righteous Glory. You get a lot of health from these 3, plus the bonus from the Cinder Hulk. You get the resistances from Locket, Ninja Tabby, and Righteous Glory. Late game, you get the additional stacked resistance from Zz'Rot Portal, but you also get the siege power of the Zz'Rot Portal active. And you get 20% active item CDR. Here, you get an additional, what was it, 38% or 40%? Or 45% even? I think it was 45% active item CDR from the Bounty Hunter, the domination stacks. So you're getting insane cooldown reduction on your active items. So you get, I think if you max out your Bounty Hunter stacks with the Transcendence ability from the domination and whatnot, you get 65% cooldown reduction on your active items. So it would be less than 40 seconds on Righteous Glory, less than 40 seconds on Locket of the Iron Solari, less than 40 seconds on, or less than 60 seconds on Zz'Rot Portal. So you're going to be sieging all the time. You could have, theoretically, 3 Void Gates active at the same time in all 3 lanes. That's absurd. I really want to try this build out now. So yeah, that's it. That's the more tank aggro style of Tahm Kench. Ideally and primarily you would want to use this when your support is squishier, like a Soraka or a Sona or a Janna, Karma, Brand, Zyra, all those squishy style supports that are going to be sitting back and shielding and healing rather than being a frontline support. That's when you would want to use this. You would want to use the other one. Let's go ahead and save that. The other one would be this one right here. You would want to use this one when your support is more like an Alistar, does not have as much heal shield power, and you need another support to go ahead and babysit your other carry, the mid laner, and you have damage carries from, and your top laner is more of a damage carry as well. So you could babysit both your top laner and your mid laner while your bigger, tankier support helps to babysit your AD carry. So really good there. This one would be for like a counter engage. and this would be more for a initial engage. If you don't have an initial engage tank, you're more of a frontline tank with this one, whereas with this one, you're more of a support / sustain tank because of the Warmogs. And that's it, guys. Let's go ahead and get those saved, and we are going to talk about the full straight support builds for Tahm Kench. TK support number 1. Alright, so Tahm Kench support is very different now than it was during the Ardent Censer meta. So, Targon or Relic Shield has Bandit. Bandit means you gain the get gold whenever a minion dies around you by an ally, or I think that's how that works. Bandit. You also get Shield Battery as a reward, a permanent shield that regenerates slowly outside of combat. Limit to 1 gold item. Earn 750 gold using this item and upgrade to Targon's Brace. Melee basic attacks execute minions below 995 health. Killing a minion steals the owner and the nearest allied champion for 15 plus 2% of missing health and grants them kill gold. These effects require a nearby ally, max 2 charges, blah 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 blah. So it's Relic Shield and either 3 potions or a refillable. One of these two. This is your go-to starting block for support Tahm Kench. And then you immediately, oh come on, same Relic Shield. And then immediately you build this into either Face of the Mountain or Eye of the Equinox. Eye of the Equinox is 500 health, plus 10% cooldown reduction, plus 200% base health, and gives you the active warding. Face of the Mountain is grant a shield equal to 10% of your max health for 4 seconds. 60-second cooldown, automatically targets the most wounded ally if cast upon self. After 4 seconds, the shield explodes to slow nearby enemies for 40% for 2 seconds. 60 cooldown once again. Probably Face of the Mountain. But you could also make the argument for Eye of the Equinox. I like Face of the Mountain because I'm actually thinking that the support tree for Tahm Kench is going to be the support room page tree for Tahm Kench is actually going, if you wanted to be more aggressive with active item cooldowns and abuse active item cooldowns, you could go that inspiration domination route as opposed to resolve inspiration or inspiration resolve. So let's see here. This is going to get pretty fancy. We're going to call this core items or inspiration domination. So Face of the Mountain, Ruby, Sightstone, Locket of the Iron Solari, Knight's Vow, Righteous, and Boots of Swiftness or Boots of Motion. One or the other, depends. This one's 450 health. Cooldown reduction there, cooldown reduction here, cooldown reduction here. Missing cooldown reduction on item. You might actually even consider the cooldown reduction. Yes. And that's support number 1. And TK support number 2. TK support number 2. And call this resolve. And this is the one where you get more tanky. Because you're using the Guardian, babysitting. This one would be Eye, Equinox, Boots of Swiftness, Righteous Glory, Locket, Knight's Vow, Warmogs. Free Warmogs! Yes, get the Warmogs. You want to be out more often. Warmogs. Where would we build? Yeah, Warmogs would be the last item. Honestly, actually, no, that's not even true. This is your full build, and I'll explain why. Because Tahm Kench, or rather as a support, core block, you need control wards. You always need control wards. Your 6th item slot is reserved for buying control wards over and over and over again to clear vision for your team. So you don't actually buy a 6th item, you buy control wards, you stack your inventory with control wards so that you can use it to clear vision late game. So your full build looks like this. Swifties, Eye of the Equinox, Righteous Glory, Locket of the Iron Solari, Knight's Vow. You get tanky from this and this. You get tanky from this. You get your resistances from Locket of the Iron Solari and Righteous Glory and Knight's Vow. And you get tanky, and you just sit there and you babysit your AD carry. You rescue them from CC, you rescue them from burst mages or things like that. And like I said, you buy control wards. So what does the starting block look like? Well, it's very similar. You go Relic Shield. You go either 3 of these potions or a refillable. And you get your control ward or your warding totem. And then your mid-game block is Sightstone and Argons and boots. Make sure you buy a control ward in there somewhere. Eventually you want these for upgrades. Control wards are in here as well. This is early game. Mid game is going to be completed Eye, completed Locket, or Knight's Vow. Completed Boots. One or the other, depending on what you need more of, whether you need more armor or more magic resist, you get either Knight's Vow or Locket of the Iron Solari first. Then you finish up with the Righteous Glory. Righteous Glory is okay. Not a core item. Warmogs. I think Warmogs is the way to go with support Tahm Kench. I know it's going to be blasphemous for a lot of my Tahm Kench main people watching this, but you have to be out on the field more, taking poke frequently. You want to be able to back off and regen. You get your tanky stats from Locket and Knight's Vow, but you're not super tanky, so you need to be able to walk away for 6 seconds to be able to regen to come back into it without needing to recall. So it's those 4 into that mid-game / late game. We'll this up here. Yeah, we don't actually need that. We're deciding that we want this Eye of the Equinox because this is the Resolve Inspiration tree where we're not abusing active item cooldowns. And we're just using Eye of the Equinox, Locket of the Iron Solari, and Knight's Vow. In this one, you could actually still go... Nope, because we're not using Ruby Sightstone, so we need Eye of the Equinox. If we were using Ruby Sightstone, you could get Face of the Mountain instead. Since we're not getting Face of the Mountain, we need Eye of the Equinox for the execution plus the warding. And yeah, that's that. You still get the Shield Battery passive from Eye of the Equinox. I no longer think coin is needed on support Tahm Kench because use the inspiration and resolve trees to help you sustain against poke champions. So you no longer need to fear walking up and getting the minions for the gold. You don't need the coin for the sustain, because you're getting that from the tree itself. If you're poking, it's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for support builds. Thanks for hanging out with me and watching this particular video. I know it's been a long video. There's going to be a whole bunch of timestamps and whatnot in the description down below, so you can get right to the stuff that you care about. If you've been watching this, I'll go ahead and make an intro video prior to this as well. In that intro video, we're going to say what I'm talking about right now. Timestamps on runes and then itemization. So this is basically your preseason update to Tahm Kench top lane, jungle, and support role with runes and itemization. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. If you like this video, go ahead and drop a like and go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to see anything else, if you have any other questions, drop them down in the description, not in the description, in the comments below. And definitely come back for more. We're going to be doing a lot of support action this season for Season 8. We're going to still be playing a lot of Tahm Kench because, like I said, he's my favorite champion, but we're also going to be playing other support champions in the support role as well. Tahm Kench is a lot of fun. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
I am the River King!